Last year alone, millions of people walked into gyms chasing strength, and they left with torn shoulders, ruptured knees, or brutal back injuries. Centuries ago, samurai built bone strength so resilient that their bodies withstood decades of combat, outlasting most of today's fittest athletes. How did those ancient warriors achieve what modern science-backed training so often fails to deliver? The real story exposes mistakes hiding in plain sight, and it is not what you have been told. Shoulder pain is the most common reason lifters drop out of training, and the numbers reveal why. Rotator cuff injuries, particularly tears in the supraspinatus tendon, affect up to 30% of athletes who perform overhead lifts. These injuries do not just sideline professionals. College students and weekend gym goers face them too. The pain often starts as a dull ache, then escalates until simple tasks like reaching for a shelf become impossible. MR clinics now see a steady stream of young adults with shoulder damage that used to strike only in middle age. Knee injuries have surged even faster. Over the past 2 decades, youth ACL ruptures have jumped by 25%. Orthopedic surgeons report reconstructing torn ligaments in teenagers who never played contact sports, but simply followed aggressive gym routines. The anterior cruciate ligament, designed to stabilize the knee, gives way under repeated impact and twisting from poorly supervised plyometrics or heavy squats with bad form. After surgery, many never regain full strength, and some develop early arthritis before age 30. Back injuries are another silent epidemic. Spinal claims now make up 40% of acute gym-related cases. The most common culprits are herniated discs and vertebral end plate fractures from heavy deadlifts or squats performed with rounded backs. The moment of injury is often described as a sudden pop or sharp pain radiating down the leg, sometimes leading to months of numbness or even permanent nerve damage. Physical therapists encounter young clients who can no longer sit comfortably or tie their shoes, all from a single mishap with a loaded barbell. Tendons and ligaments, slower to adapt than muscles, suffer under rapid progressions. Achilles tendon ruptures, patellar tendinitis, and elbow ligament tears are now routine among lifters chasing quick gains. These tissues need months to remodel, but modern programs often double weights in a matter of weeks. The result is a wave of chronic pain and repeated injuries that force athletes into cycles of rest, frustration, and re-injury. Behind every statistic is a story. A high school lifter with a torn ACL who misses her senior season. A father in his 30s, sidelined by a herniated disc, unable to pick up his child. A college athlete whose shoulder pain ends a promising career. These are not rare accidents. They are the predictable outcome of training systems that push bodies faster than bones, joints, and connective tissues can adapt. The injury profiles are clear. Modern gym culture produces a steady toll of broken bodies, even as it promises strength and resilience. Inside most gyms, the drive to do more has become a badge of honor. Coaches chasing rapid results pile on sets and reps, pushing athletes to lift heavier each week. The message is clear: more volume means more progress. But underneath the surface, this mindset is manufacturing injuries at a staggering rate. Instead of gradual adaptation, bodies are forced to keep up with spreadsheets and social media challenges. Recovery days are skipped, and deload weeks are seen as weakness. The result is a culture where pain is ignored and warning signs are brushed aside. The physiological fallout is predictable. When muscles are pushed to exhaustion without enough rest, the body's stress response goes into overdrive. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, rises and stays elevated. Chronic cortisol disrupts the repair of bone and connective tissue, suppresses the immune system, and keeps inflammation simmering. Blood tests in overtrained athletes reveal high markers of inflammation, such as C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, signaling that the body is stuck in a state of low-grade injury. Instead of getting stronger, the system begins to break down from the inside out. These problems are not just theoretical. In weight rooms across the country, ego-driven coaching is easy to spot. The archetype is familiar: a trainer who boasts about never taking a day off, who pushes clients to hit personal records every week, and who treats pain as a sign of mental weakness. This approach may deliver short-term gains, but it comes at a heavy cost. Micro-injuries accumulate in tendons and ligaments, invisible at first, but quietly eroding the body's foundation. By the time pain becomes impossible to ignore, the damage is already done and often requires months of rehab or surgery. Hormonal red flags start to appear long before visible injuries. Athletes report sleep disturbances, mood swings, and persistent fatigue. Lab work shows suppressed testosterone, elevated cortisol, and disrupted thyroid function, classic signs of overtraining syndrome. These changes undermine not just performance, but overall health. The body's natural cycles of stress and recovery are replaced by a relentless grind, leaving no time for adaptation. The root of the epidemic is not just the exercises themselves, but the way they are programmed and the culture that surrounds them. Rapid progression, excessive volume, and a disregard for recovery have created an environment where injuries are not only common, they are expected. Unlike the samurai, who built strength and resilience over years through incremental overload and deliberate rest, modern training too often sacrifices longevity for the illusion of quick results. The data is clear. The behaviors driving this crisis are modifiable, but only if the culture is willing to change. At dawn, the sound of wooden swords and bare feet echoed across the packed earth of the dojo. Boys as young as 5 or 6 lined up in simple cotton uniforms, eyes fixed on the veteran master at the front. Their first lessons were not about fighting, but about movement, how to kneel, rise, and bow with perfect posture. These rituals, known as reiho, laid the foundation for everything that followed. Each day began with kata, a series of choreographed forms practiced in silence. The youngest students repeated the same basic sequence hundreds of times, learning to coordinate breath, balance, and body alignment. Over months and years, these forms became more complex, introducing the wooden sword, or bokken, and later the spear and bow. By age 10, a student might be trusted with a real blade, but only after years of perfecting the basics. Training was not limited to the dojo floor. In the fields and forests, boys ran barefoot to build endurance, swam in rivers to strengthen their lungs, and rode horses to master balance and control. Each activity was selected for its purpose. Long stances, some held for minutes at a time, developed leg strength and stability. Mounted combat drills practiced in full armor forced the body to adapt to shifting weight and unpredictable terrain. The goal was not to build muscle for its own sake, but to create a body that could move with precision and power, no matter the conditions. Progression was deliberate. A boy's first year focused on body weight movements, push-ups, squats, jumps, and grip training with rice or pebble buckets. Only when his form was flawless did he advance to more demanding skills. The master watched for signs of fatigue or poor alignment, correcting mistakes before they became habits. Pain was seen as a signal to adjust, not a badge of honor. If a student's technique faltered, he was told to rest and return when ready. The emphasis was on slow, steady progression rather than quick gains. The training calendar followed the seasons. In winter, intensity eased, allowing time for recovery and reflection. Spring brought renewed drills and longer hours. Summer's heat demanded early morning sessions, while autumn focused on harvesting strength built over the year. Rest days were mandatory, woven into the weekly schedule. Recovery was not an afterthought, but an essential part of the regimen. This seasonal rhythm taught the body to adapt gradually and to respect the need for rest. This approach produced remarkable results. Samurai warriors remained active and combat-ready well into their 50s and 60s, decades after most modern athletes retire with chronic injuries. Historical records describe veterans leading troops, riding into battle, and teaching younger generations without the burden of persistent pain. The secret was not superhuman genetics or mystical techniques, but a system built on patience, observation, and respect for the body's natural pace of adaptation. Each step, from childhood kata to mounted combat, was part of a lifelong progression, measured not in weeks or months, but in decades. Inside every human bone, a quiet process unfolds with each step, strike, and lift. Bone is not a static structure. It is a living tissue, constantly sensing and responding to the forces placed upon it. The moment a load travels through bone, specialized cells called osteocytes detect the strain. This signal, known as mechanotransduction, begins in seconds and triggers a biological cascade. Osteocytes reduce their release of sclerostin, which acts as a brake on bone growth. In response, the WNT beta-catenin pathway activates, calling osteoblasts to deposit new bone matrix and instructing osteoclasts to remodel microcracks. But these changes are not instant. The first measurable signs of bone formation, anabolic markers like PINP, rise only after 4 to 6 weeks of consistent loading. It takes 6 to 24 weeks before any real increase in bone mineral density can be detected on DEXA or peripheral quantitative computed tomography scans. The most robust gains, the kind that reinforce the skeleton against fracture, arrive after 3 to 6 months of steady progressive stress. Complete remodeling of the bone's outer shell, the cortex, can stretch from 3 to 9 months or longer. Tendons and ligaments adapt even more slowly. Collagen turnover in these tissues lags behind muscle, requiring 3 to 9 months before meaningful strengthening occurs. This timeline explains why rapid jumps in training load, common in modern gyms, overwhelm connective tissue and set the stage for injury. The bone's internal clock cannot be rushed. It demands patience and consistency. Wolff's law, first described in 1892, captures this reality. Bones adapt their architecture to the loads they bear, but the adaptation depends on both the magnitude and the rate of loading. Dynamic, high-strain activities like jumping or striking stimulate bone formation more effectively than static holds. The key is novel, repeated stress applied within safe thresholds. Too little, and the bone remains unchanged. Too much, too soon, and microfractures accumulate faster than the body can repair them. Medical imaging backs this up. Studies show that a 5 to 10% increase in load every 4 to 6 weeks, paired with regular deload periods, leads to steady gains in bone mineral density. Deload weeks, where intensity drops to allow recovery, are not a luxury, but a necessity for adaptation. Without them, the cycle of breakdown outpaces the cycle of repair. This slow, deliberate process mirrors the pacing found in traditional samurai training. Years of incremental overload allowed the skeleton to remodel fully, building resilience from the inside out. The science is clear: bone, tendon, and ligament all require time to adapt. Pushing faster than biology allows is not a shortcut to strength, but a detour to injury. The path to unbreakable bones is measured in months and years, not days or weeks. A veteran dojo master stands before a line of students, hand poised above a makiwara, a flexible wooden post wrapped in straw. With a sharp exhale, his fist drives forward, landing with a force measured in the thousands of newtons. Instrumented makiwara studies show peak strike forces range from 2,260 newtons to 2,645 newtons, rivaling the impact of a heavy bench press, but concentrated into a much smaller area. Each strike is precise, never reckless. Beginners start with light contact, focusing on alignment and relaxation, then gradually increase force and volume over months. Pain is feedback, not a target. When the hand aches or form breaks, training stops. This approach prevents fractures and tendon injuries seen in modern gym goers who rush impact drills. The same principle shapes leg conditioning. Samurai spent hours in deep stances, Zenkutsu Dachi, with the front knee bent and the back leg straight, holding positions for up to 90 seconds at a time. Research from randomized controlled trials shows that just 12 weeks of daily stance practice can boost knee extension strength by 25.9%, far outpacing gains from conventional squats. The key is isometric loading. The muscles and bones of the legs bear sustained force without the explosive compression that damages cartilage in modern plyometrics. These stances also reinforce the connective tissues around the knee and ankle, laying the groundwork for powerful kicks and stable footwork. In both makiwara and stance training, progression is slow and deliberate. Students log hundreds, sometimes thousands, of repetitions each week, but only increase intensity when movement quality is flawless. The result is a body that adapts from the inside out, bones thickening, tendons strengthening, and injuries kept at bay by the discipline of patience. Sleep, food, and pacing are as fundamental as the training itself. Samurai masters insisted on full nights of rest, knowing that deep sleep is when bone and tendon repair accelerates. Modern research confirms this. Bone remodeling peaks during the night, with growth hormone and collagen synthesis rising only after several hours of uninterrupted sleep. Missing this window slows adaptation and leaves the body vulnerable to injury. Nutrition forms the second pillar. Traditional samurai diets centered on rice, fish, miso, and seasonal vegetables, whole foods rich in calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D. Today's best evidence supports a daily protein target of 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight for optimal collagen and bone matrix formation. Without these building blocks, even perfect training will not yield stronger bones. Progression is the third key. The most reliable rule is to increase training loads, by no more than 5 to 10% every 4 to 6 weeks. After each cycle, a deload week, where intensity drops, allows the body to consolidate gains and repair microdamage. This cadence matches the natural timeline of bone adaptation, which takes weeks for measurable changes and months for lasting strength. Programs that skip deloads or double weights in a few sessions risk breakdown instead of growth. Results are measurable. In a recent case, a competitive athlete followed a 6-month protocol modeled on samurai principles with slow technical progression, deloads every 4 weeks, and a diet that hit protein and mineral targets. Bone mineral density rose by several percent on scans. Pain scores dropped by 40%. The athlete reported not just fewer injuries, but a renewed sense of control and confidence. Proof that ancient wisdom paired with modern science can build bodies that last. Bone doesn't care about fads or speed. It responds to steady, patient stress. Today, as gym injuries rise and chronic pain starts younger than ever, the lesson is clear. Real strength is built by respecting biology, not rushing it. The blueprint for resilience is already written in our bones. The choice is whether we follow it. Share your perspective in the comments below.